great to see everyone here today. Wanted to do just a really quick YouTube live here answering this question, can stuttering be cured? And what I wanted to do by way of answering this question for you is we're going to look at the definition of cure. And I've done this before many years ago. I've been doing online courses, and I've been coaching. I've been coaching now for more than 7 years, and I've been producing courses and helping people with their speech for more than 10 years now. I struggled with stuttering for, more than half my adult life, which means more than 25 years, probably closer to 30 or so. So I understand what's going on here, and when I'm speaking Spanish, sometimes I still do struggle. I mean, I absolutely still do struggle, which is a good thing for me in this business because I'm able to understand now what you're going through, what you're struggling with. Okay, so let's talk about this word cure. Technically speaking, many programs could be seen as a cure. If we look at the definition, just go type this into Google. So we're looking at a couple of definitions, and the ones that seem to be the closest would be something like something such as a drug or treatment that cures a disease. Okay, stuttering a disease? No, most people wouldn't call it a disease. Some people may call it a disability, but we wouldn't really call it a disease. Some people do, but I would say most don't. So here's another one, a cure or period of treatment. That could fit, right? A complete or permanent solution or remedy. Okay, that one could really fit, right? A complete or permanent solution or remedy, yes. A process or method of curing. Okay, look at that. Let's look at cure as a verb. To restore to health, soundness, or normality. Sure, that could fit. To bring about recovery from. Absolutely. To deal with in a way that eliminates or rectifies, right? To free from something objectionable or harmful. Absolutely. So any of those definitions, if you look at it as a verb, could fit some treatments or programs that help people overcome stuttering. Absolutely, we could say that. The problem is that often when people are marketing their tips or their programs, what can happen is this word cure can be misinformative, right? Can be misleading. When someone's looking for a cure, for sure they're looking for a permanent solution. Eliminates it, gets it out. Like if you were to go in and operate and take it out, it's gone. You don't have to worry about it anymore. You don't have to do any maintenance, practicing, it's gone. So if there is some medication, shots, hypnosis, or program, whatever, you could just go in, take it out, then someone would say, okay, I'm cured, that's it. Now, there are people who have gone through programs, who have done hypnosis and so forth, and it's gone. They don't have to worry about it anymore. It's just left, right? That does happen. For many people, I dare to say majority, but let's just say many, who struggle with stuttering, stammering, especially as adults. We're not just talking about children now, because often children can outgrow this. But once you start getting into your late teens, and especially adults, it starts to take on a psychological dimension, right? It's already been weaving itself inside of your personality, your identity, who you see yourself as, who you believe yourself as. It starts to set a certain, what we call mindset. You begin to think about speaking situations in a certain way, to anticipate them, to fear them. And you may be an extrovert, you may not really have a fear of public speaking, but because of this stuttering, your history with stuttering or getting stuck or whatever, you begin to see certain speaking situations as a situation or circumstance in which you may get stuck. You may not be able to say this, right? So when that happens, then looking at or looking for a cure becomes a little more complex because you're now going to need to deal with not just the mechanics of speaking, right? Airflow, breathing, and all of those things. But now you've got to deal with the mental side, the mechanics and the mind, the mechanics in the mind. So this is very important to understand, and this is why we say that stuttering is an inside job, right? It really starts from the inside out, from the inside out. And the reason is that your mindset, and I also want to add to that, your mindset and your identity, your speaking identity, are two things that if you want a long-term change, long-term results to stuttering, more than likely you're going to need to transform both your mindset and your speaking identity. And so when you work on these two things, and the reason that you need to kind of start there is that that's going to drive how you progress, how you improve your speech, how you attack it, how you approach it, how you respond when you're working on your speech and you have a disfluency, right? As you're learning anything, as you're working on something, unless it's totally cut out, just cured, boom, it's gone, which doesn't happen for most people, right? For some it does, but for most it doesn't. It's a process. So what happens when you do get stuck? What happens when you do stutter, right? When you are transforming your mindset and your identity, you deal with that differently. You don't deal with it the same way as you used to. You don't beat yourself up about it. You don't think about it. You don't dwell on it. We've seen people, and maybe you struggle with this yourself, where you learn these techniques. They could be therapeutic techniques. They could be could be techniques from Pro 90D as well. And you're learning them, and they seem to be working, and then all of a sudden they stop working on it, or in a situation it stops working, and then you begin to doubt, right? You're trying to figure out, why isn't this working? And then you start to think about it, and you start to regress. And so that has everything to do with your mindset and your identity. So what I'm suggesting is that you not really look for cures, because you could spin your wheels for decades. Not that someone won't come out with one, because hopefully they will. That'd be great. But I'll tell you what, just on a personal note, I'm actually glad that there wasn't a cure for stuttering for me personally, that I wasn't cured. I prayed for a cure. I looked for it years ago, didn't find it, and I'm glad. Someone says, well, of course you're glad because now you're in the business of helping people, so you're making money from it. So of course you're not glad. Well, way before I ever started this business, way before me, decades before, I could say that I was glad that I hadn't found a cure. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Well, let me just share with you why. It's a few reasons. Number one, it allowed me to, instead of focusing on the stopping of stuttering, the curing, the getting rid of, it allowed me to focus on becoming an excellent speaker. Would have never really done that had I not had this struggle. I just would have went out and been an okay speaker, and maybe I would have worked on improving my speech, but I wouldn't have had the same drive. But because I struggled with my speech in that way, I had a strong desire and drive to take my speech to the next level, right? So I probably would not have ever done that, because I wouldn't have had a need to do that. So it helped me become an excellent speaker, because I had to focus on how I wanted to speak, not how I wanted to not speak or stop speaking. I focused on how I wanted to speak. That's number one. Number two, developed character. A lot of character goes into working on something that many people just give up and accept, right? So this is who I am, I can't stop. So a lot of character, persistence, perseverance, overcoming fears and doubts, and changing your beliefs, and like developing habits and sticking with this stuff for years. A lot of character building that goes into that. And so you become a stronger person. So that's number two. And then third it has allowed me to help other people, not just in this area, but it's allowed me to help other people who are struggling with other things. Many of you know I've been in ministry for years. I have a master's in divinity. I've been taught how to coach. I was a relationship coach for several years. I've been taught how to teach. I was a professor. Done all kinds of things. And this process of overcoming this has helped me become a better person and teacher, more empathetic, more sympathetic, more knowledgeable in how to help people work through difficult things in their life that I would have never experienced had I not had that. Maybe I would have had something else, but when you've got to change the way you speak, that's like trying to change the way you walk, right? It's something that's so ingrained. And when you have to change the way you think, your mindset, your beliefs, your speaking identity, that takes a lot of energy, a lot of effort, a lot of focus, a lot of willpower. And when you do that, you find that when you come out on the other side, you're a far better person. And you are now able to serve others at a much higher level. So I'm glad, actually, that there wasn't a cure, because I probably would have, taken it, right? Because it's helped to make me a better person and better equipped to serve others, and not just in this area, but in the other areas that I've worked in. This just happens to be the area that I'm working in now. Many of you are working in other areas. You're engineers, you're doctors, you're students, whatever. So what I'd like for you to think about, to reflect on, is rather than looking for a cure, look at this as a process, as a journey that you can use to develop excellent speech. So focus on developing excellent speech, not the stopping of stuttering. That's number one. Second, focus on how this can help you develop habits, both thinking habits and speaking habits, and just life habits that will make you a better person all around, right? It's going to help make you successful in other areas of your life. And I'll just give you a quick example. Learning to be aware and monitor your thinking. So that's going to help you with your speech and with every other area of your life. If you learn to monitor what you're thinking, that's just one example. So you develop certain habits that are what we call keystone habits that help you in other areas. That's another thing. Then two, by going through this process and focusing on how can I use this experience of mine to equip me to better serve others, you will become a better servant, a better leader as you go through life. Okay, so the question of can stuttering be cured is a great question, and I'm sure that for some people it can, and technically speaking, we can say many programs actually do cure, right, in a real sense. But we have to be very careful in using that word, because while technically it might be true, tactically and realistically and practically, it can be misleading. Okay, so I hope that this is just a little reflection that I wanted to share with you, and I hope that this is helpful for you. Love to hear your comments, and look forward to working with some of you in the future.